Recording.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask Selectman Baker to lead us in that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members of the Board of Selectmen are here and present. We're on now to approval of the meeting minutes from November 16th. They're included in your packet.
Move to approve the Board of Selectmen's special meeting minutes from November 16th, 2021.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So carried. Public participation. This is one of the two opportunities for the public to address the Board of Selectmen. I'm going to first ask if there's anyone here present in the room. If they'd like to address the board, please identify themselves by name and address, and then I'll turn to anybody who's with us online. Is there anybody here in the meeting room who would like to address the Board of Selectmen? Okay. Is there anybody online who would like to address the board? Okay, there will be another opportunity for the public to address the board later in the meeting. Next, we're on to communications. This was I was actually hoping you could be here, but this was a letter that I sent, or this was based on a letter that I sent to Commissioner Giulietti at the Department of Transportation concerning two constituent matters. One has to do with runoff from the railroad track on Maple Ave, and the other has to do with the request to install a crosswalk on Bridge Street across from between Geisler's Plaza and the fire department. You can see this is an acknowledgement of my request from DOT and kind of their pathway forward with how they're going to address both of those requests. That was submitted to us first by Mr. Towers pertaining to Maple Ave, and secondly by Mr. Buckley concerning the crossing on Bridge Street. So I just wanted to share with you guys that intergovernmental communication. Now we are on to resignations. We do have one. Denise Menard's resignation as a member of the Housing Authority is included in your packet. This is due to her recent election to the Board of Education, which is precluded from serving on a board other than the Housing Authority. May I have a motion to accept her resignation?
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Denise Menard from East Windsor Housing Authority, effective November 10th, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I just say I'm glad we're not losing Denise in terms of serving the community. She's just changing boards, and I'm sure she'll have a significant impact on the Board of Education. We're glad to have her. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So carried. I have, I'm sorry, I should have done this at the outset. I have two added agenda items. The first needs to go under 7B, which is reappointments. This was emailed to you guys Tuesday, I think. Jose Geiner has submitted an application to sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals to fill a vacancy there. He's been on there for a number of years and currently serves as its chairman. So could I have a motion to add under 7B the appointment of Jose Geiner to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we'll now take up agenda item 7B, the appointment of Jose Geiner to the Zoning Board of Appeals. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept Jose Weiner to the zoning board of appeals. Term expiring.
It's 2 years.
2 years.
Election.
Second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Before we move further, might as well take care of the other added agenda item that I need to add. So agenda item 9H, I'd like to add a discussion and potential approval on the tie and bond forensic soil study contract proposal.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks. We'll take that up as soon as we get there. Okay, it's that time of year where we need to set our budget schedule and meeting dates. I worked with Dr. Tudrin to confirm that all the relevant Board of Education dates that are included in this proposal work for him and his team. So we just need to confirm, and I know Sarah and Charlie, you guys both have difficult Februarys. So I just wanted to see if the dates as lined up work for you. They are based completely on last year's schedule. But, you know, things change. So,
It worked for me.
Charlie? Did I hit birthdays or anniversaries or? both?
Anniversary, but that's fine. It's a Tuesday, so we're not gonna do anything.
Get your anniversary every year.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, birthdays. But he missed the birthdays. Our birthdays are on weekends this year, so we're good.
We
we're good.
catch up on Saturday.
We did, you want to go back to that?
No. A little loopy. I had my shingles and booster just before I came here. So,
Just before you came?
a couple hours.
Where'd you find the booster shot? I'm sorry. Where'd you find it?
Walgreens, Bridge Street. Easy.
Would you get Moderna?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, no place.
I think they're out.
Dr. Ron Paul's got it. Dr. Ron Paul, priority urgent care. That's what I got.
Over in Ellington.
I was in and out.
Yeah, if you don't mind the Moderna, you could get a Walgreens down in.
I couldn't find it there. That's why I got mine.
You want anything. So get it tomorrow.
So if nobody has any changes to the dates as presented, I'd ask for a motion to accept them so that we can get the dates filed for.
To accept the Board of Selectmen 2022 budget calendar and workshop dates.
Second that.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, so you'll recall back in May or June, I brought a proposal to the board to allocate LoSiP funds. They had been largely unspent for a couple of years, and we did 4 projects. We did a sidewalk project in Warehouse Point, we did the Dog Pound, we did Napoleon Drive, and we did the master plan for Parks and Recreation. Turns out, when we submitted those, after approval from this board, we submitted those to OPM, they don't like funding plan proposals. So we also have funding that was moved into CNR by the Board of Finance at the end of the fiscal year to cover playground equipment. So what the proposal is here is that we use the CNR funding for the playground equipment to pay for the master plan and then use the LoSiP funding to replenish the playground money. So we're moving money from one pot to another, but this keeps it in concert with what the Office of Policy Management wants to see the money used for. We can't use LoSiP money for planning purposes, but we can use CNR money for planning purposes. So now the proposal is to use the LoSiP funding for the replacement of whatever comes out of the master plan, which is what the intention of putting that money to begin, putting that money there to begin with was. So you'll recall the LoSiP project that we approved, which was for the master plan, was $33,700. The amount of money that was moved from the general fund to CNR was $70,000. So we have more than enough money in both places to cover the paper move that we're trying to do here. But I just want to make sure that we can pay the master plan firm and then we can implement some of whatever their findings are. So I would ask for a motion to utilize $35,000 worth of CNR funding for Parks and Recreation for the payment of the master plan. That makes sense?
I'll make a motion to authorize first selectman to make the adjustment on CNR $35,000 to be utilized for the master plan payment and to use the LoSiP money for playground equipment in the amount of $70,000.
Yeah, and recommended to the Board of
And
Finance.
recommended take Board of Finance.
Is there a second? Made and seconded. Discussion?
I'm sorry, I was just.
Alan?
I have a question.
Yep.
Of the 70,000 that's in CNR, do you know offhand how much of that was geared towards the playground?
It was all.
It was
put there-
all
It was all
for it?
put there for playground equipment.
Okay,
So assuming that's the only thing in that CNR line, it would be 100%.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that was the only thing in there, but the long and short of it is, for the two purposes at hand, we have plenty of money in both places to cover the expense of the other.
thanks.
This is really a book.
Let me just, can you just repeat the motion to make sure that it's in line with what you just said?
I
Because-
move to authorize the first selectmen to utilize 35,000 of CNR funding for Parks and Rec master plan and use the LoSiP money for playground equipment in the amount of 70,000 and refer to the Board of Finance.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So this next item is notification from DOT that there's going to be some pedestrian crossing upgrades at a couple of intersections, well, many intersections across the state, but three of them in East Windsor, one at the intersection of Route 5 and Newberry Road, one at the intersection of Route 5 and 140, and one at the intersection of Route 5 and Walmart. So what they're doing is they're putting in place the signalization, the pedestrian control, push the button across here things. So they just want each town that is the recipient of this memorandum to sign acknowledgement and acquiescence to DOT's approach. So this is one of those things where I just need a authorization for signature, and then I'll return it to DOT.
Are they planning to utilize that recent Route 5 study?
I thought that same question and they didn't reference it, so I don't know that they're even aware of it yet. CROG just approved it 2.5 weeks ago. So they may not even have it. I mean, what's the date on it? They probably don't even have it.
Yeah, and they haven't done the design, it sounds like, yet either. So I was just hoping that we could make sure that they take that into account when they do whatever they're going to do in East Windsor.
I might actually write a cover letter back suggesting that. So for example, one of the things that the master plan calls for is not the master plan, the Route 5 study, is the installation of sidewalks and crosswalks at the Route 5 140 intersection.
Yep.
They're gonna affect the pedestrian crossing signal, but I'm thinking like, you're crossing in nowhere. If you're going from Sophia's Plaza across the street, there's nothing to go to. So they're not even gonna put a crosswalk there. It's gotta be the other way, going from either Sophia's restaurant over to the dental place or from Sophia's Plaza over to the restaurant. Otherwise, I can't figure out where the signalization would be. But I am gonna write a letter back to DOT and ask that they take a look at
Yes,
this.
the way that they did it in the study, I thought was smart. Right, so I mean, the work is
There's
done.
one phase, two, phase three.
Yeah,
I'll draft something if that's the intention.
absolutely. It looks like you can send it right to this Ethan guy and he'll be on it.
I'll CC it to the commissioner too, because the guy's super responsive.
Yeah,
So can I have a motion to authorize me to sign and return this agreement to DOT?
make a motion to sign and return the agreement with DOT for developing plans to upgrade existing pedestrian crossings in our town.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Told you, Peg, this is gonna be a quick meeting.
Absolutely.
Like wetlands last night.
Get my motions done tonight.
Tom, you're gonna be home by 20 9D, okay, discussion of the audits. So this is a pro forma update thing. I wanted to brief you guys on where things stood based on what I know. We were required to submit to OPM on behalf of the entire town a request for an extension of the audit filing deadline, which needs to be filed by the end of the calendar year. The town's finances and the audit process on the town side are complete. There's no issues. We're done and on time. The issues here stem from, and it's an exact continuation of the same problems from last year. that the finances for the Board of Education are not in a place where, as of when the request had to be submitted, which was Tuesday, I had to file it by November 30th. The auditor made clear that there was just no way that they were going to get that done, and that was predicated on a lack of information being provided to them in a timely fashion. So I wanted to let you guys know that that is happening. It's something I didn't have the luxury of waiting until a selectmen's meeting to ask you to do because of the statutory deadline. I actually asked the auditor out of a moment of pique and frustration, what happens if we don't do it? You know, I mean, our side of the house is accounted for. So what happens if I don't submit something over my signature saying that the town of East Windsor needs more time because the town side is fine? And there was a very long pause where he said it would be very helpful if you didn't do that. And the reality is it would have resulted in a fine levied against the town that we would have been responsible to pay. And again, it's through no fault of anything in the finance department. We are good to go and prepared and ready. But I didn't think it was prudent to have that fight and incur a fine of, I think, up to $10,000. Oh, $1,000. No, $10,000.
Minimum is 1,000.
Yeah.
Maybe 10,000.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, like, this is multiple years we've had this problem, and the Board of Education is paying this company on our behalf to do this work, and it's not getting done. When do we find a different company to do it?
That's something that I think the new board is going to be taking, asking some hard questions about. It's not our purview to say. We are, in this instance, we're locked with them. I would say I've had many conversations with Patrick already, and he is aware that this is a problem. I think it's in good faith. He gets an opportunity to try and fix it. So I'm not interested in burning down his house over something that is not his audit. You know, he wasn't even in office when the books closed on this. So this is not a good look for the town. It's not a good position for us to be in. But I think that he's aware of it. And I think he does deserve an opportunity to try and correct it. And I do think the new board is going to be watching that. But it is exactly the same circumstances last year.
Right, and I think it undermines the confidence that taxpayers have that their money is being spent wisely. They know that it's even being spent on, because these guys don't even know what it's being spent on. And that's not even hyperbole.
Well, so the reasons for the delay, the auditor shared with me, and they are the same reasons as last year. The findings he would not share with me, at least the findings that he's found thus far, because he said that he wanted to talk to Dr. Tudor first.
Yeah, and they have the opportunity to correct.
No, they won't have an opportunity. It'll be a management response.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But the findings are going to be what the findings are. But he wouldn't share with me what they were until he shared with Patrick what they were. So I don't know what they are.
Do we know at what point the state comes in and takes over conservatorship of the school if we continue to default in our statutory mandated requirements?
Well, first of all, the statute provides for the allowance of an extension. So we're not in violation of the statute from that perspective. In terms of the findings, that's the more troubling piece of information that would determine whether or not the state got involved. I don't know what their trigger period is for that. I know that my understanding is they were concerned about last year's findings. So if those findings are repeated, or if they're exacerbated, I would imagine that becomes something that becomes a bigger problem for the Board of Ed. And also that would become our problem too, because that is a very bad look for the town. But, you know, again, I think I wanted to update you guys on where things stood and why I did what we had to do. But I do think that Dr. Tudrin is keenly aware of the problem and is committed to trying to rectify it. So.
I agree, he's fully aware of it.
I know he's aware of it. I think he understands the severity of it too. Other questions or comments?
Hold them until I go to the Board of Ed.
Okay, so that's just a briefing, you guys, item. Okay, next, the outstanding erase grant issues. So as you'll recall, last week, or last meeting, we talked about submission that had been turned in paper copy without a record. And it was discovered after the fact, and I asked you guys to consider entertaining the submissions. There were two in there from two separate LLCs, but one owner, Julie Cortese, who owns and operates Caring Eyes LLC, which is Dairy Delight, as well as the Shinoski Mobile Home Park. So I called George after our meeting, and you guys authorized us to move forward. I called George. He agreed to do another review. He did it at no cost, which I thought was a nice thing to do, but because he spent some time on it. But he did the follow-up with Julie on her applications. He provided the same summaries that you would have seen in the other 113 examples of this. So questions, comments, motion for approval and funding,
So we missed this one too?
they were in the same.
They were the same one.
Yeah, same person, same level. And it was clearly submitted within the period of time. There's no reason why it wouldn't be entertained. So George's recommendation for Caring Eyes LLC, which is Dairy Delight, would be the full 10,000. And then for Shinoski LLC, which is the mobile home, 2,900. Did you read it?
I'll move to approve George Kribda's recommendation that the Board of Selectmen approve Caring Eyes LLC and Shinoski LLC for the erase grant for the amounts $10,000 for Caring Eyes and $2,900 for Shinoski.
Is there a second? Motion made by Sarah, seconded by Marie. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So carried. Tax refunds.
We skip that.
Did we?
Yes.
Got the-
Oh, because I didn't have the statute. Right, so Connecticut General Statute 7-9B allows for the hours of referendums to be set by the Board of Selectmen. You'll recall 2 years ago, we did this at the annual town meeting for the entire ensuing calendar year. Last year, because of the mutant circumstance, that was not done. But I'd like to do that again, and before I can put it on the town meeting agenda for the annual meeting on the 16th, this board needs to forward it to town meeting. So the motion that I'm asking would be to set the referendum hours, set referenda hours for calendar year 2020 at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. for calendar year 2020 and forward that to a town meeting.
Move to set the referenda hours for 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the calendar year 2022 and send it to town meeting.
There's a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that'll end up as one of 4 items on our annual town meeting agenda. Now, 9G, tax refunds.
We'll move to approve the tax refunds totaling $805.29.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, so now we're on to the tie-in bond proposal for forensic soil study. I'd ask that we table this item.
Move to table item 9H.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're going to take it up after executive session. I needed it on the agenda, but I don't want to have a very open conversation about it. Okay, selectmen's reports. First of all, I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. On Monday, the 22nd, Broadwood Fire Department was recognized by Cox Communications for an award commemorating distinguished service to the community. This was, there was a community nomination for this award, and they were one of 2 communities serviced by Cox Communications that were recognized under this award program. What they received was the Broad Brook Fire Department was provided a fully catered Thanksgiving dinner, which was catered by Manili's, as well as a check for $500. They said that they plan to donate half of that money to the East Windsor Food Pantry. Thanks to them and to all of our first responders who show unwavering commitment to our community. On Saturday, the 27th, I was pleased to join members of the East Windsor Police Union as they held their annual Stuff a Cruiser event to benefit the holiday programs administered through East Windsor Community Services. We're grateful for our officers and their spouses who spent a full day on Saturday supporting the less fortunate in our community. This is one of many events they do each year in support of East Windsor projects, and we're very grateful. Our townwide team is one of the many reasons why East Windsor is a great place to live. On Monday, Dr. Tudrin and I met for more than 2 hours to continue our discussions around strengthening the relationship between town government and the Board of Education. This time we dug a bit deeper into various ways that we can share services between the two sides of the town budget. I'm grateful to Dr. Tudrin for stepping into his new role with such an open mind as to what can be accomplished. We haven't come to any conclusions yet, but we're digging deeper on a number of things that hopefully will bear some fruit come budget time. I spent the last few days at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities annual conference. I was honored to be appointed to their board of directors. My first job out of college was as an intern in their research department, and to now sit on the board is a tremendous honor. I'm excited to do that. For those who don't know, CCM is the state's largest nonpartisan organization of municipal leaders that represents 168 municipalities. They provide objective research on state and local issues, and they advocate at the state level for issues affecting local taxpayers. It's quite an honor to help lead that organization. I want to congratulate Patty Cradaville, East Windsor's tax collector. She and I both completed the coursework necessary to attain designation as certified Connecticut municipal officials and were recognized at this week's conference. Coursework for that designation was diverse and included topics like supervisory skills, municipal employee relations, public budgeting, racial sensitivity and inclusion, accountability and conflicts of interest, and more. That was an initiative Patty took on her own, and I just want to congratulate her for completing that. At that conference, I was asked to present East Windsor's Erase Grant. Many towns are still trying to figure out what they should do with their funding, and East Windsor small business and nonprofit model is something that many towns throughout the state have expressed an interest in emulating. Small businesses and nonprofits are still struggling to come out of the pandemic, and it's gratifying to know that the program that was developed here could serve as a model and support far more small businesses across Connecticut. Thank you to CCM for giving me the opportunity to share East Windsor's success with a larger audience. The town has completed phase 1 of our cybersecurity audit. No significant faults or findings were identified, although some lower level issues were discovered. Those will be corrected, and then a second phase of the audit will be conducted to contrast the before and after picture. Big takeaway is that our team's done a good job making sure that the town's IT isn't vulnerable to cyber attacks. And once that second audit is complete, we'll have the full report so we can see where we were versus where we are. That's all I have, and I will recognize Marie.
Since our last meeting, my liaisons were both on the same night, on the 17th, East Windsor Housing Authority and Water Control Authority. They had to cancel their end of the month meeting and change it to November 17th, and I wasn't aware of it. Well, I chose to go to East Windsor Housing Authority, only to discover that they didn't have a quorum. But they did discuss the 13 Reservoir Avenue property that they purchased. There was 3 residents from that area that had some concerns about things that they've heard. They just wanted clarification of what the housing authority intent was. So they briefly went over that they're looking to subdivide that property because they want to have a road access at some point in the future to go from Reservoir into the 6 acres in the back. And then they'll sell off the remaining property to include the 2 outbuildings at a later time, and agreed that they would make sure they keep the property owners informed of what's going on. The tenant association in their report made mention that Jason Barza was a guest at their meeting previous month and answered a lot of their residents' questions and gave them a lot of information as to what was going on in town, and they very much appreciated that, and looking forward for more meetings with him and Senator Anwar, who also at some point attended a meeting up at Park Hill. the East Windsor, the Water Pollution Control Authority, I did reach out to, them, they explained that I wasn't able to make the first meeting, and got a schedule of their, 2022 schedule, they're gonna cancel their meeting in December, so there won't be a meeting. But, going through their minutes, although I didn't attend the meeting, I think one of the highlights for this board is that, the toll variances for the South Road and the Gulf Road property, was looked at and was, unanimously approved by them. So that's another step forward for South Road. And then there was three public hearings, one for Church Street, one for the attorney over here, what's his name? His wife has not got the property. What's her name?
The attorney.
Yeah. The plaza that they're doing.
Oh, just be
construction
nice.
at. No.
That's it.
Asdale Plaza, thank you. That one, was closed. And then the South Windsor is looking, for wastewater fee, and they closed that public hearing also. So, but the minutes are online, so if anybody wants to go through it, they're welcome to. But those were the highlights of the meeting. And that's all I got.
Oh,
Okay, was unable to attend the Planning and Zoning Commission on Thanksgiving week, but I did go to my first diversity meeting. There was no quorum, so, but they met anyway, and they had an interesting discussion. There was a presentation from a representative of the Witness Stones Project, which is a pretty interesting project that they're basically, and I'll read their mission statement, probably because it says it better than I could. But through research, education, and civic engagement, the Witness Stones Project seeks to restore the history and honor the humanity of the enslaved individuals who helped build our communities. So what they do is they come in, and it was started by a middle school history teacher, I think. But they come in and they, for a fee, but research the history of slavery in a specific town. And so, for our town, and they try to build a story of what it was like for enslaved people, in our town. And that would then be put together as a module to be added to, a US history class in the middle school or somewhere along the line. Or there's a lot of different levels that the town could do it. But basically, it's just something that's added into the curriculum and is taught to the students so they have a better idea of how slavery was actually existed in Connecticut, which probably a lot of people, our age or older, I'm talking about me and Marie, just me actually, but
Charlie's in that group.
that probably we're not aware of and we're not taught that, in the North, there was quite a bit of slavery, especially in Connecticut. There was, a lot of reliance on it for commerce. But anyway, there's a lot of interesting things that he brought up. And so that's something that they're going to be, I think, bringing to the Board of Education to see what kind of interest. So that was that was it for their meeting, because as I said, they didn't have a quorum. Inland Wetlands had a very light schedule. They talked about the tie and bonds thing that we're going to discuss later, and also discussed updating the wetlands map, which hasn't been updated in quite a while. To the extent that it will be updated, probably not as much as I'd like, but it will get updated. And so the process there, they have to have a public hearing, which it was voted to have that in February. So kind of waiting till everybody got through the holidays, and then we'll have a public hearing on that in that board to let everybody see what those changes might be, and then accept that, and then that'll be the official wetlands map for the town of East Windsor, going forward. Except for there will be more modifications because apparently we're working with the GIS company that we use to at least get in the last 10 years of actual wetlands delineations that have happened because of permit requests over the last 10 years. So that in itself will update some of the map, and then we could, over time, take another 10 years or so and kind of really update everywhere there's been a permit where that required delineation, so that would update the whole map. And there's other things technically I think you could do to make the map better, but anyway, that's what's going to be in February. And that's all I have.
It's good information.
Okay, just so happens that all of my liaison meetings happen on the second and third week, so the next meeting I'll have a lengthy report, but I hope everyone had a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. With the hustle and bustle of the holiday season upon us, I hope that we can all take some time to enjoy the spirit of the holidays and what this time of year is really about, spending time with loved ones and the act of giving without expecting anything in return. This can be a difficult time of year for some, so sharing a smile, a compliment, or a friendly gesture can go a long way in making someone's day. On Saturday, November 27th, as Jason already commented on, I did spend some of my morning at the police union's annual Stuff a Cruiser. It was heartwarming to witness the generosity of so many wanting to ensure a child is happy this Christmas season. On Monday, November 29th, Selectman Nordell and I attended a juvenile justice forum at Suffield High School, which State Representative Carol Hall was a part of. The forum centered on the uptick in crime around our state, focusing on car break-ins, mostly being committed by juveniles. It was a very informative presentation, providing data on the number of crimes, an explanation of the laws currently in place, which sometimes hinder the opportunity for change in behavior or punishment of such crimes, and the need for reform. East Windsor Parks and Recreation is looking for recipe submissions for their holiday recipe book. If you have a favorite recipe that you'd like to share, please submit it to dwilliams@eastwindsorct.com by December 14th. Also, the Torchlight Parade and Carol Sing is back this year and will take place on December 18th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. on Main Street in the Broadbrook section of town, ending at the Broadbrook Fire Department. And also the Connecticut Trolley Museum Winterfest and Tunnel of Lights is open Friday through Sunday nights through December 19th. You can purchase tickets in advance on their website or Facebook page. That's all that I have.
Charlie, we'll go on last. You don't have to give much of a report because everybody hits all this stuff. So on November 23rd, I attended the Board of Education meeting in which Randy Reckley was appointed chair, Kate Trolls as vice chair, and Heather Spencer as secretary. In public participation, it was requested by Bill Towers that the school get in sync next year with surrounding towns when planning their school calendar. This school year and many in the past, East Windsor has held their spring vacation on a week different from surrounding towns. This makes it difficult for families to plan vacations when they have students or parent teachers who are part of another school system. I praise this idea because it has been a problem in my household as well, with my wife being a teacher in Salisbury. Dr. Tudrin reported that legislation passed 5 new programs, one of which will be mandatory, so they'll be looking at implementing that. He also reported 53 students participated in the school's vaccine clinic. 71 high school students have been vaccinated, and they have implemented the option of screen and stay to help reduce quarantine. Dr. Tudrin also reported the final strategic plan will be presented to the board at the December 15th meeting. He also said the audit request, like Jason mentioned earlier, is being performed. However, it looks like it will be late and an extension has been requested. This has been an issue in past years. First Selectman Jason Bauza, Dr. Tudrin, and board members stress the importance of getting this problem rectified because it has serious consequences for the town and the entire budget process. December 1st, I was part of the Wales Point Fire Department's special meeting in which they voted to hold a special district meeting to allow the district taxpayers to vote on spending $225,000 of the approximate $277,000 that sits in CIP. 200 of which would be used to buy the former Bank of America property right next door to the firehouse. The other 25,000 would be used for closing costs and slight renovations to convert the former bank into offices. Moving the current offices and conference room out of the firehouse and into the bank would open up the option for sleeping quarters, locker rooms, and improved bathrooms with showers in the current firehouse. As I see the future need for more space in these modifications at the Warehouse Point Fire Department, it is my opinion that we are overburdening the Warehouse Point District taxpayers. The recent expenditure of nearly $2 million for a new truck and firehouse addition has already pushed our mill rate to 1.9. Although this purchase will come from CIP, which has already collected taxes, the maintenance and utilities of the purchase will surely increase the residents' tax burden. It also removes a prime piece of real estate from the grand list. I was the only commissioner to vote no on this purchase, so it will now be up to the taxpayers to voice their opinion on December 13th at 7 p.m. for vote at the Warehouse Point Fire Department. Like has been mentioned before, on December 18th is the Torchlight Parade. Sarah already mentioned the Trolley Museum. And this Sunday between 10 and 2 at Geisler Supermarket, there will be a collection of hams and gift cards to benefit the East Windsor families, which will be distributed through social services. And that's my report.
Public participation. This is the second opportunity for the public to address the board. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Tom Delaney, 23 Rice Road. Just like to get everybody, get it on the record that American Heritage River is, our New Year's Day hike is coming up. Obviously, New Year's Day, 1 o'clock at the Melrose Park. It's in great shape. It's always a fun event for everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully, next year we'll have, this year we can have a good crowd again. Last year we only had 100.
Wow. It was a different circumstance.
There was no guided tours, no nothing, and this year we can be back to normal, kind of, just close to normal.
Anyone else? Then we will have an executive session to include Ruth Ann Calabrese. Do I have a motion
I'll move that we enter into executive session
to include Ruth Calabrese?
to include Ruth Calabrese.
Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We're in executive session at 7:42. I do expect that there's going to be a vote. We are out of executive session at 8:11 p.m. I'd ask for a motion to take up agenda item 9H, a discussion of the tie-in bond forensic soil study contract proposal.
Make a motion to authorize the first selectman to,
No, we gotta go back to the order.
oh, make a motion to go back in order and take up new business H.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Selectman Baker.
Make a motion that we authorize the first selectman to sign the tie-in bond forensic soil study contract proposal.
For a second,
Second.
made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If there's any other business to come before the board for the good of the order,
Move to adjourn.
oh, is there a second?
Second.
Oh, it's undebatable. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 8:12 p.m.
Hey, did you need a